Hey guys, it's Sherry Vegas and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be doing some more wood burning on serving boards, and I have decided to go for a little ocean slash like sea theme, and of course I'm going to be including a resin. So you're going to need a wood burner to start this, or pyrography is like, I guess, the professional term. I just got mine from Bunnings and I think it was like around the $30 or $40 mark. There are like more advanced ones, but while I'm learning sort of how to work with this machine, I think that is a good one to start off with. You're going to need a serving board, some resin, and some whatever colors that you want to work with.
Because I'm going for an ocean themed serving board, I thought some shells poking out of resin waves would be super cute. So you have a few options on how to kind of add your shells onto your chopping board, and today I'm going to be wood burning, and I could either freehand drawing some shells on, or I could do this really simple method where you print off some designs using a laser printer. You get a lead pencil and just draw on the back, and then you flip that over and you put it into the spot where you want that particular shell design to go, and then just use a pencil or a pen and go over that outline, and then that will like do a little mini carbon copy of that shell. It's very faint, but it is a lot easier than trying to freehand something that's got a lot of detail to it. There are a few other ways you can transfer designs, but this one is super simple, especially if you don't have carbon paper. You can kind of create your own using this. You do need to press down quite a lot to get that sort of lead to transfer through. It is very faint, but it is a really easy technique to do, especially if you are using something like this. These are a little bit more simplistic designs. There's not too much detail or shading to them. Now for this, I tried a few different heads. I was really struggling at the start trying to work out what kind of heads to use, because obviously each head that comes with your wood burner has a slightly different use for it. So I started off with the really fine pointed one. I used this in my previous wood burning video when I was doing my vines, which was really simple because it was just like big sweeping long soft lines to create the vine part. But then when I was trying to use this to create the clamshell detail, I was really struggling using this against the wood, like the grain of the wood, and it was really hard to kind of like, I think I was pressing down too hard, and I should have started going really light and then slowly building up the color. So with this start of this, it was a little bit of a fail and I wasn't as happy, and it didn't turn out exactly how I wanted it. It was pretty messy. I did think, you know, when I add the resin waves, it's going to be covering half of it, and you're just going to see the top part, which obviously looks a lot better than the bottom part. But this is all trial and error. This is only the second time that I've used a wood burning machine, and it was okay. Like the pointed edge was okay, but I think I was just pressing way too hard because I thought that would like help me get like stronger detail, but going against the wood, it kept getting a bit too bumpy and not really giving me clean edges that I would like. I then did try switching heads and going for like the angled head, and that was really good, I guess, if you want to use straight lines, but doing any of the corners with that angled head just did not work. It was a little bit of a disaster to start with. Once you've done your wood burning, you just need to mix up your resin. I'm only going to be using 2 blue colors for this. One is indigo, which is this dark one, and that is from Color Passions, and the other one is sky blue. I think it was from Artie Sue and is no longer available. And then I am using titanium white from Just Resin, as well as using some clear resin for this as well. So I added my indigo right to the edge, and I'm only going to be using 2 colors just because it's not a huge board, so I don't have a lot of area to create like a lots of depth with it. So I just decided to go for those 2. And honestly, I do not think it was my day today to be creating some art. I was having a really hard time with the resin. It just wasn't sticking that well to the board, so there must have just been something on the board, which I didn't know about because this board's from IKEA and it comes plastic wrap, so I just took it straight out of its plastic wrap, and there must have just been some residue because the resin just wasn't sticking. And then I added some clear, and then I'll add in some white to create my waves, but you'll see in a second, like just along the side edges, it was just all coming off, which just goes to show like we all have issues with resin sometimes. Well, this wasn't so much the resin as I should have just fought ahead and cleaned the serving board before applying resin to it. And then I got my heat gun and just started blowing my white resin across, but I kind of knew that I was probably going to have to do a second layer of resin because this was just not working.
So I think I am having a massively off day. The resin wasn't sticking. I was struggling so much with the pyrography, with trying to wood burn it. I don't get why. I was trying all these different little heads on it to see if they would help, and I think I was pressing too hard, and the resin wasn't sticking, so the chopping board must have had something on it, and because I didn't clean it because I'd just taken it out of its packaging, I just thought it would be clean. So I think I'm gonna let this resin dry and do its thing, and I'm gonna come back tomorrow and tackle it again and see if I can save it.
It is the next day and I decided to start again and not fully scrap this idea. So I'm just going over the same process. I decided to add a 3rd shell and try a different head. I did a little bit of research about what kind of heads are the best for curves and circles, and this one that's rounded was really good, and I found it so much more easier to do all of the curves to the shell. I also did start off really light when I was doing this. I wasn't pressing heavy, and I ended up going over about 3 times, just building up that color, and I added a tiny little bit of shading to this as well, just on the outer edges to make it look like it had a little bit of a shadow. But this head was way easier for the curves, just so much more easier, and I felt so much more better today. I was so close to scrapping this whole idea. And I am going to be adding a 2nd layer of resin to this just to fix up where that resin didn't stick and those waves that just didn't work out. So the first thing I'm going to need to do for that is make sure there isn't any residue left from obviously what was stopping the resin from sticking the first time around. So I ended up getting some really fine grained sandpaper. This is just 1200, and I just sanded back all along that resin, the original area of the resin, and then I got some alcohol spray and some paper towel and just wiped all of that back. The sandpaper helps just add a bit of texture, so that way the next layer of resin doesn't have that issue with gripping, and then the alcohol just gets rid of any dirt or any muck that might have been there and stopped the resin from setting the first time. And then I just followed the steps that I did the first time around, where I added my darkest color on the end, then my light blue, and just overlapped those and blended those together. And then once I was happy with how that was looking, I added more clear and the white as well. I used a heat gun to blend out the areas, just so that way I don't have 2 really obvious stark contrasting areas where it's a stripe of dark blue and a stripe of light blue. You want to make sure anytime you're doing an ocean effect that you want it to be a really beautiful gradient going through. The second time around, I knew I had to bring the white further up, and it was going to end up covering probably like the first 2 shells, so that is why I added the 3rd shell. But that was originally the design where I wanted the shells just to be popping out, but the reason why I had to bring it up was obviously to cover the previous pour, so that way you couldn't see it. And then I just used my heat gun to kind of blow the white resin back over the 2 blues, and you get the really pretty cells and lacing popping up when you use the heat gun and blow it back. You do have to be careful not to go too much with your heat gun, and sometimes you can end up going a bit too much and you lose all of that beautiful like cell and lacing work. But I'm so glad I stuck with this, and it ended up working out the second time around.
Oh my god, I am so happy that I have managed to save this. I was so close to completely scrapping it and like starting again and not even showing you guys. But I think you guys like it when I do show you kind of like the struggles and then sort of how to like turn it around and fix it, because even though I do resin all the time, I still have issues with it, like no matter how much you work with something. And obviously too, I'm new at the whole wood burning thing, so by like going back and like trying a different head and like really testing it out. But that is why I did start with just a tiny little serving board and like working my way up to more complicated sort of challenges with that. So if you want to see like more wood burning tutorials, because I do have a few different ideas in mind, let me know and we can like learn together. But I'm really happy with how it looks now, so it just shows that you can always save a piece. And let me know if you like to see like when it doesn't go perfectly and like how you can fix it, because I find that personally like really interesting. Or if you just like to see me do it right the first time, let me know in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up, as that really does help me out. And if you're new to my channel, please do subscribe, as I post new videos every single week. And don't forget to hit the notification bell, so that way you get notified every single time I do upload a video. And I also wanted to ask everyone, I want to start trying some new different styles out. So obviously I do lots of candle making and I do lots of resin, but I wanted to start like adding a third sort of element in. So I'm looking at doing rug tufting or marbling, or more fluid acrylic, or like soap making. They all really interest me, but I'm not sure what I want to like start to focus on. So if there's one that you really want to learn from that, leave it in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching.